So yes, welcome to the webinar. So it's going to be an introduction on real estate investment. I did this presentation a few years ago. It was tailored for students, and basically the requirement was to try and do basically the same presentation because of the content was pretty simple and graspable. But then we also wanted to touch on a few additional topics which are maybe a bit more relevant for people who really want to invest. They're maybe like in their first jobs or, you know, who are ending their studies and know that the next step for them is to start investing in real estate. So just give you a little bit more of an in-depth understanding. But yes, we're still going to take it from the top. So I'm going to start with presenting myself. So my name is Samia Kalfawi. It's going to be a presentation in a bit of a franglais situation. So I apologize in advance. I feel like I'm more comfortable doing this presentation in English, but also when we hit the technical aspects, because they're more relevant to the French system, we're going to switch on and off between French and English. So my name is Samia. I was born and raised here in Saint Martin. I then pursued my studies in Lille, where I got my BEng in civil engineering. I then moved to London, where I did my master's in structural design and construction management with sustainability. And that's also where I started my career in a boutique property development firm specialized in high-end projects. So high-end projects on their own behalves or on behalf of high net worth individuals. So my involvement with property investment has mostly been on behalf of the companies that I've worked for. And so I thought it might be an interesting thing, an interesting addition to have a little bit more of a concrete, how to say, like storytelling or feedback or input from somebody who already invested personally, French side and Dutch side, and who happens to be my sister. So I'm gonna let my sister present herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Melinda Kalfawi, as Samia mentioned, and her sister. I currently work in a financial department of a property development group where I conduct a lot of financial analysis and feasibility studies on real estate programs.
Yep. So basically I worked in London for a couple of years before moving back here after the hurricane to help and rebuild. And that's where I started my career love story with my sister, because we entered the same group. And so that was an opportunity for us to kind of merge the financial aspect of construction with the technical aspect of construction. So yeah, our thing was mostly dealing with the feasibility studies and how to associate project management aspects of a development operation and the cost control financial aspect of it. So now I was supposed to move back to London, giving you my life story, but anyways, I was supposed to move back to London, but given everything that's happened lately, I'm not sure if that's gonna be still in the books. So we're thinking about probably growing a small entrepreneurship endeavor. And we're targeting mostly development management, pre-construction services, 3D concept design, feasibility studies, sustainability consultancy, and cost control consultancy. Basically our jobs, but for ourselves. And yeah, So this is a bit of our background, and now we can get right into the presentation. And yes, if you do want to follow the journey, since I'm not going to launch a company, I think it was kind of like the aim was like to launch an endeavor through the webinar, but I'm not really ready yet. So I'm going to be really humble and tell you, you can follow my personal Instagram account and I'll post anything relevant to property, or we're thinking about opening a page, an Instagram page where we can give like some pointers or some input on investing in real estate, whether it be here in Saint Martin, French side and Dutch side, and abroad. So if you want to follow that, give me a follow. You have my Instagram info. So as for the content of the presentation, we're going to be looking at setting goals, building capital, deciding and dive, which is really understanding your investor's profile, understanding what are the key or some of the key investment strategies, and how to conduct an investment analysis. And then we're going to lightly touch on a few key concepts that you might want to look into if you're in the, not necessarily all of them are based in the French system, but if you're in the, definitely in the French system, that might be interesting for you. And might answer a few queries that you may, that may be hurdles through the whole investment journey. Right, so SMART goals. To start off, SMART goals, when you think about investing in real estate, I think one of the mistakes or the mishaps that we tend to use when we're at my age, at least, when you're just done studying and now you're thinking about doing that first investment, is not really, or at least what you should do is probably think about why you want to invest. Are you trying to invest to gain some additional income? So say you have your main salary and you want that extra, 300 euros, 500 euros a month or more. Do you want to live off of real estate at some point? Are you preparing for retirement at a later stage? So what exactly are you trying to achieve through real estate? Because that gives you an idea of what you're trying to generate. Are you trying to grow in volume? Are you trying to grow in income? Are you happy to grow, to gain some, well, to gain a bit less income now, but to know that in the next 10 years, you have all your properties, all the loans are paid off, and basically you can live off of real estate. So really understand your why. I think that's like the main focus. Chantal is like sending me WhatsApp comfort messages. Thank you, Chantal. So yeah, SMART goals. The way to define SMART goals is they have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. So that's a pretty, known concept. But I'm gonna just try to break it down for you. I think it's quite accurate. So specific, your goal needs to be, really specific. Just get down and dirty as to like, what is the actual lifestyle that you're trying to accomplish, and how many, it needs to be tangible. Where are you trying to invest? How many investments are you trying to conduct? What financial gains are you trying to get from your investments? So be really specific with your goal. It needs to be measurable, whether it's in revenue or in number of properties. You can tell yourself, like, for instance, I want to try to invest or to buy at least one property every year or every 2 years. But yeah, be really, have set numerical goals. It could be in numbers, it could be in profit that you generate. You can say that in value, I want a portfolio of X, or I want a revenue of X. So in any case, be able to quantify it. It needs to be achievable and realistic, but that's really depending on your own situation. You need to know yourself, know your profile, know your skills, know your your ability to save, your ability to generate more income. And from that point, from that base point, then you can, you know, assess what is a realistic goal. And then it needs to be timed. So the thing about real estate is that, and I go through it as well, but it's that delay aspect where basically you know you want to invest, but you have not yet figured out, or you're constantly trying to delay the process. You know, you're procrastinating, you're not doing enough research, you're not da da da. Make sure when you set your goal, you have a deadline to each milestone and to the ultimate goal. You need to be able to tell yourself, right, within the next 10 to 15 years, 10 or 15 years, I want to have this. So that's how you set your SMART goal. From that point on, you have your goal, you have a broad vision of what you want to accomplish. Now you build a process that takes you from your current situation to that ultimate goal. And to do so, to build a process, it's kind of a reverse entonnoir kind of vibe. So you have your deep life purpose, life vision, the lifestyle that you want to have. Do you want to live off of real estate? Do you want to have your career, but know that you have a buffer? Everything that we spoke about, you've defined it. Then you start thinking about your midterm goals. So, right, if I'm saying within 10 years, in the example I took 2 years, but say within 10 years, you want 3 properties. By the 5th year, okay, maybe you want 5 properties. By the 5th year, where should you be in terms of investment to know that you're on track? That's basically your midterm goal. Basically giving yourself like an in-between milestone. Then you have your short-term goals. And your short-term goals are all the steps that you may need to achieve the midterm goal. So say, for instance, you want to build a portfolio, and in essence, you don't want to invest in your own name. You want to build a company, and that company is going to hold all your property portfolio, yeah? And so if you want to do that, then first, your short-term goal might be to register the company, to first create the company, to register the company, to meet with your banks, to know exactly, to have that relationship with your banks, to build that over time, and, you know, small things like that. And then you break it down a step further, and then you have your daily steps. And your daily steps are basically the things that you can do right now to help you get to your short-term goal. So for instance, you might say, right, I need to at least be able to analyze 5 investment opportunities every week. So you know you already have your little Excel spreadsheet, you go through a few investment opportunities, you run the numbers, and you may or may not fall on something that you're interested in, but you know that you've built those, you know, short steps that eventually will bring you to your short-term goals. Another thing is meet immediately with your bank, see what, you know, how much you can loan from them, given your current situation. How can you build a better credit score? I know we don't really use the credit score system in the French system, but I know in the UK it's a huge thing. So I don't know, for people who are used to like the States or stuff like that, just build that over time. These are things that you can start doing from now. So once you've identified your overall lifestyle picture, your vision, and then you've built a process to take you from this point to the ultimate goal, then your first step is probably going to be to build capital. So building capital is going to help you to, well, it's going to basically be your down payment. I know also that now in France, at least, I don't know for here, I think it's a little bit less common here to be financed 100% by the bank. But usually, traditionally, you would need to have some type of a capital to put in, usually around 10, 13% of the value of the property, to put in before you can get a loan. Yeah. So you want to start figuring out how to build that capital. So the strategies that I've kind of highlighted, or I think are the most common, or maybe the most efficient, or the ones that I know, they are saving, investing, generating, and negotiating. So saving is essentially, understanding what is your saving rate. That's something that I took a really long time to really get down with, because you need to really be able to build some type of a spreadsheet that has your yearly budget, your outputs and inputs, and understand what is your savings rates, and really monitor that throughout the year. And really be able to say, right, by this month, I'll have that much in my savings. So that's one, that's like the most common, that's the basic one, that's the one that you must do always. Then you can take it a notch higher, and you can start investing your savings. So to do that, you can invest your savings in mutual funds, stocks and bonds, peer-to-peer lending, and just, kind of start making your money work for you. So I know that I've started investing as soon as I started working, and I invested in a mutual fund. And honestly, you might not get a lot. The return on investment was supposed to be 4%. I didn't get 4% every time, but I still got more than nothing if it was just sitting on my savings account. I think that's like the key thing. Then you have generating. So generating is basically, you have your job and then your side hustles. And I think that's where the whole side hustle issue or theme kind of came about. When you're building capital, your side hustle plays a huge role in in your ability to just have savings or generate income, or just, have that money there. So don't neglect your side hustles. I had a side hustle throughout my entire student life and my work life. I always had a side hustle. And, in times like these where you're kind of like figuring your things out and and your side hustle can easily become your main source of income. So don't neglect that. And then you have negotiations. So that's a funny part, because I came into the understanding of negotiation like super late. And basically, I had a friend who, she used to only shop at really high-end clothes stores. And I always wondered like how, because we had like approximately the same salary. He was like, okay, well, how do you get that done? But what she used to do is like, I went shopping with her, and that's how I figured the trick. She used to go to the stores and then figure out which product she wanted. And then out of all the products they had, like of the same, say, one dress, out of all the dresses, she would find the one with a defect and ask for her 10, 15, 30% off. And I was like, oh shit, can you imagine? And so from that point on, I kind of realized that you can negotiate everything. You can negotiate well, at least in London, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's as flexible here, but in London, you can negotiate your rent, you can negotiate your telephone plan, you can negotiate everything. And I think the lesson here is to really enter every situation looking for where is the negotiation aspect of it. Like, come in with the mindset of I'm negotiating whatever terms I'm getting. And obviously, depending on the situation, understand that a negotiation can be a win-win situation as well. It doesn't have to be lose-win for you to negotiate and kind of gain a little bit more value for whatever you're paying for. So boom, you have your capital. I took that example for students because at the time I wanted to show students that if you had started investing or you had started saving early enough, you might be able to, like, by the end of your studies, have substantial, well, a nice chunk of money to start investing. And the example that I took is like, right, if you have 5 years of studies to complete, and you tell yourself, right, I'm saving up to 50 euros per month over the course of 5 years, boom, at the end, I have 3,000 euros, right? If I can take it up a notch just a bit, I save 100 euros over the course of 12 months. For 5 years, I have 6,000 euros. We said what? Deposit is about 10%. So 6,000 euros, that's, you have essentially roughly the down payment for a 60,000 euro property, right? 60,000 euros, that gives you like what, a studio? That's still at the end of your studies, you could have just started working, get your city, and bought your studio one shot. So that's already one thing. Now say you invest your savings. We talked about mutual funds. Average 4%. Yes, it does fluctuate, but say 4%. So I invest my 4% over the course of, my 100 euros over the course of 12 months at an interest rate of 4%, as I said, and for a duration of 5 years. Now I have 6,629 euros. Cool. I add a side hustle to that. So basically, I can generate 170 euros for 4 months, well, over the course of 4 months, over the course of 5 years. So ultimately, I can, at the end of my studies, end up with 8,600 euros roughly, yeah? That's an 80,000 euro value property. So you're now stepping up into same studio, 1 bedroom, right off the bat. And that's like the one thing that, like I didn't realize when I was a student, is that you don't need to have it sorted out right now, because obviously you're a student, you don't have the appropriate work contract to be able to start investing, I get all of that, but if you start your buffer, your savings, your down payment from that period on, then yeah, basically set. Okay, then someone else has their mic on. Oh, okay, we're good. Okay, so next topic is decide and dive. So you're building up your savings, okay? You have that chunk of money building up, you're cool. Now what you need to understand is the type of investment strategy you're gonna be implementing. And that really depends on your investor's profile. So your investor's profile is basically 4 aspects. Your capital, well, let's go through them one by one. Your capital, so it's basically the chunk of money that you can generate, your income, your down payment, the side hustles, what money do you have available to invest? That's your capital. The amount of time that you have to dedicate to your investment project. So see, if you have, say, a part-time job, you have the rest of that time to do your research, to go and visit properties, to say you're investing, you have time to manage the work and be on site and oversee the renovations and stuff like that. Well, you can't neglect it, is what I'm trying to say, because you might need time. If you're trying to like buy a fixer-upper and put a contractor there and tell him, right, fix it the way I said I want it to be fixed, I can almost guarantee you're gonna come back and it just won't look the part. So really, like, the time that you have available does play a part in your ability to invest, or in the strategy that you're gonna wanna choose. Your skill set. So you might have, you might know how to do some electrical work, you might know how to do some plumbing, You might know how to manage the people who do the work, so you ensure that the work is done correctly. Or you might be able to monitor their cost. Or you might know nothing about construction or real estate. Well, you're gonna wanna know about property, but you might know nothing about actual construction. So you need to take that into consideration as well. You might not, in that case, if you don't know anything about construction, you might not necessarily, buy a fixer-upper or buy a property that you need to like renovate a little bit. You might want to go for a newer property, but that might cost a little bit more. So these are all parameters that you have to like take into account. And then your tolerance to risk. So yes, they say that property is like, usually it's said that property is a safe enough investment. But say you invested in seasonal renting. First of all, you paid a really high value property because of the location, and you're here on an island and there's a major hurricane and you just bought that property. So now you're not generating any income from it because it's devastated by the hurricane, or you don't have tourists at the moment, so you're not generating any income. It's do you have the temper to cope with that? Say for instance you're buying to flip, yeah? So you make this agreement with the bank. You tell the bank, right, I'm going to renovate, I'm going to do the works, renovate this property, and with the value added, I'm going to just sell it back. And the bank allows you to just defer your repayments by a few months or a year or whatnot. You need to ensure that within the next 6 months or a year, whichever you have agreed with the bank, you are able to have this property up and running to be able to pay whichever loan you took out with the bank. And these are just risk factors that are going to like really play, and that's just, it's really about knowing yourself and knowing if you're risk averse or not. Once you've decided, right, okay, I have that set of skill, I have a little bit of time, I can maybe dedicate my Saturday and Sundays to doing some research, maybe I have an afternoon off, I'm happy to like take some risk, but not too much as it's my first investment. And I have a little bit of money that I've saved up, yeah? Now we're gonna look at investment strategies. You're gonna say, I have my profile. These are some of the top investment strategies that you could be using. So first of all, the first one would be refurb and hold. Refurb and hold is basically when you buy a property at a low value and your aim is to refurbish it so that you can add value to the property and then hold it to rent. So the thing is that this is going to allow you to buy with a small chunk of money. So you don't have that much savings. You have a little bit of savings. You're going to buy a property that's not going to cost a lot. You're going to put in the work. So you have work that you need to be able to manage, and you need to be able to, just factor that in. And then you're going to be able to rent it for much more than you would initially because you've added that value. And that's going to allow you to like start growing a portfolio where you have some generated income over a period of time. So you might not have like the whole, we're going to talk about buy to flip, but buy to flip, you might buy the property, flip it, and then you have this huge chunk of money. If you're refurbishing to hold, you might not have the chunk of money, but you're gonna have income over time, which is a little bit higher up because you've added value, and because you've paid it to such a low price, your repayments to the bank might be a little bit lower as well. So what did I say? I said it allows you to add value. There's a possibility of refinancing. Okay, I'm gonna just run through refinancing because it's a concept that that was really difficult for me to grasp. So I mean, I don't know, somebody's gonna be interested in that probably. So refinancing is basically you buy a property at a low value, you add value to the property, and then you renegotiate your loan with the bank so that either you can take out the capital gain that you've made on that property, or you can renegotiate the terms of the loan that you've agreed with the bank. And if that's not clear, we can talk about that after. So that's, yes, the possibility of refinancing. Oh yeah, so off of that, because we're thinking about strategies, if you refinance a property and you take out the capital gain, then you now have some more leeway to continue investing, right? Because now you have some additional money. Then negatives, it requires skills to do the construction work or to manage the people who are doing the work. Yeah, there's a risk that the market dips. Well, that's the example that I was saying. If the market dips while you're doing the work and then you're not able to gain, you know, the value that you expected you would be having, then it may adjust, you know, it may shift your investment strategy a bit. And yeah, it may not achieve the value that you anticipated. It's suitable if you have limited funds because the value of the property is initially low. And if you have refurb/PM skills and you have time to cope with the works or managing the works. Multi-use. Okay, so multi-use is the typical UK system where you buy a unit, you buy a property, and instead of renting it as a single rental or a single unit, you're gonna use each individual, you're gonna find a way to subdivide it to increase the income that you generate from the property. So typically you have a 3-bedroom apartment. Instead of renting it to a family of, you know, a couple and 2 kids, you might rent each of the 3 bedrooms to individual tenants with their own tenant agreement. And so instead of having like what you would rent it to the family for 1,700, you might rent it to you might rent out each room for like 800. And that's basically taking that same value, same property, and generating more from it. The negatives from that is that you have more turnover because as you're renting rooms, your tenants, their situations will evolve. You know, people move out, people get into relationship, the room is not big anymore, it's not big enough anymore. So you're gonna have more turnover. So do you want to deal with that hassle? So it's something to take into consideration. You're gonna have more maintenance because the wear and tear is just gonna be crazy because, you know, you have X amount of people living, using the dishwasher, using everything in your kitchen, using your bathrooms. So you're gonna need to account for a lot more maintenance fees, and it will require more marketing simply because every time a room gets available, you need to advertise for it again. So boom, do you have the time for it? And do you have the temper for it? That these are like things to take into account, but also it is a good option if your main focus is cash flow, because obviously you're gonna gain substantially more cash flow with multi-use. Buy to flip, check my time. Okay, I need to speed that up. I think we're nearing the close end. So buy to flip. Okay, buy to flip, similarly to refurb and hold, you buy a property at a low value and you put in some work, you add value to the property, you renovate it, and you sell it back immediately. That allows you, or immediately or whenever you decide, but that allows you to gain that chunk of money to jumpstart your investment strategy or your investment strategy. So say you initially had a small amount of money, you bought a property, small value, you add in some work. It's much better if you can do the work yourself because these are costs that you can reduce. So you do the work yourself to the best of your ability, you add in some value, and then you sell it so that you can have a substantial amount of money that can allow you to then progress into building a portfolio. The negative aspects of that is it doesn't contribute to your long-term portfolio, but again, that depends on if you want a long-term portfolio or if you just you need some quick cash. It requires time. It's stressful. It's a stressful process, but we've talked about it. If you have an agreement with the bank and the bank is like, yeah, okay, you need to start repaying by that date, and you're still in the midst of your construction and like something went wrong and then the roof is not the way it's supposed to be, and then it can be stressful because then the repayments come in when they come in, and it's whether you're ready or whether you've sold or not, you need to find a way to repay your bank. So this is suitable if you need cash right now, if you have time to do the works, and if you have the right temper. And finally, holiday rent. Oh yeah, I just wanted to touch on in multi-use. One of the things that that is kind of trendy now, post-COVID, is the fact that like in the French system, the subletting aspect is not, well, traditionally they say it's not legal, but there is la sous-location professionnelle, which is an agreement that you can make with your landlord, whereby basically your landlord agrees that their only concern is to have X amount of rental income per month, right? Whatever you do with the property afterward is up to you. Like you can sublet the property basically, and you can try to make a margin from that. It is an actual thing. There are actual contracts like that. So if that's something that you might be interested in, there are a bunch of articles, and I'd be happy to send you a few. Holiday rent. So holiday rent is great because it generates great cash flow, supposedly. If you're in the right location and you have everything, it does generate great cash flow. The thing is, though, that in order to afford the correct location, you need to have the correct amount of down payment. You need that extra chunk of money. So it's definitely not a strategy for someone who is just starting off and maybe did not build sufficient capital to buy in a prime location. So, but if you can afford a seasonal rental, then by all means, it is a great opportunity for cash flow. Negative aspects though, it requires time and management. Obviously, you have a lot of check-in, check-outs. You need to be on call all year long for people who are staying or interested in staying in your property. It does have a high maintenance fee, whether you have it managed by someone else or by yourself. And you need to think, you need to wash all your linen and all those kind of stuff. Yes, basically get the property prepared for your next guests, and you're really dependent on the touristic season. So yeah, downfall. But if you have the time and if you have the correct temper, then, and if you obviously can afford a great location, then it's a great opportunity to generate some cash flow, some additional income. So here you go. These are like some key strategies that I wanted to highlight, and you can kind of pick and choose these strategies or combine them. Maybe you start with a buy to flip because you have not that much money right now. So you buy, you flip, you get a substantially more important down payment that might allow you to then invest in a refurb and hold to grow your portfolio over time. Then you might do a few multi-use because you want to generate some income, some additional income, to buffer up whatever you gain from your job, from your daily job, or maybe you just want to live through, you know, via real estate. So yeah, you can definitely mix and match them. It's really about figuring out, based on your profile, based on like where you are in life, how and where you want to go, how can you combine all these things to achieve your goal. Investment analysis. So once you figure out your strategies, you're going to start looking at investment opportunities. So you're going to go through your websites, you're going to figure out like all the ads that of things that you're interested in. And this is how you figure out whether an investment is a good opportunity or not. So you have your whys, you have your what you need, and your key numbers. Why is to compare different property investment strategies. So you need to be able to understand, well, right, if I do a refurb and hold with this property, or if I do a seasonal rental, which one is going to give me the best return on investment? So, you know, you have the same opportunity and you compare the strategies to see which one is going to be more beneficial to your overall plan. To compare property investments to other types of investments. So that's, say for instance, we talked about mutual funds and the 4% return on investment. You know, see if investing in real estate gives you, investing in this opportunity that you're analyzing right now gives you a better return than, you know, putting that money in the market, or, you know, investing through a mutual fund or something like that. And then to compare property investment in a specific location. So it's interesting to see also, if you take a similar type of property, like a 1-bedroom apartment here in Saint Martin versus a 1-bedroom apartment in Lyon, okay? And you kind of see, well, how much each of them cost, what return can I get from that, which one generates the best cash flow, and yeah, so that's how you kind of build your analysis of like the market. What do you need? You need the price of the property, the purchase fees, the refurb and furnishing cost, the deposits that buying that property might require, the interest rates that are applicable in your bank and, you know, given your profile, the mortgage repayments. So that's the monthly or annual repayments. Well, they're monthly, but the monthly repayments that you're going to be paying the bank. Your management fees, your repair contingencies for, you know, any unforeseen event where you need to just have some maintenance, you know, get done. You have a burst pipe, or something is not working, the key, the lock is broken, you need to have somebody come in and change the lock, those things. So you need some contingency there. Your service charge and the insurance. And the key numbers you're going to be looking to get from this analysis is your gross yield, which is your annual rent divided by the property price, your net yield, which is your annual rent minus all your running costs divided by the property price, your annual or monthly profit. So this is this is the cash flow that we were saying that that the property generates, and your return on investment. So this is a typical analysis spreadsheet. Basically, it's just to show you where you get all the information to get the result that you're looking for. So you're going to look for your purchase price on adverts. You're going to look for refurb and fees through quotations and some research. You're going to, you know, meet with builders, have them assess the works. You review the works and see if you can, you know, account for that in your overall feasibility study. The monthly rent per unit, which is basically you kind of go on websites and you see a similar unit to the one that you're looking at. What is it being rented out for? Like how much are people renting these units for in the same neighborhood? So you find comparables. Then you have your interest rates. So that's something that you have to discuss and negotiate with your bank. And feel free to shop around. I think somebody asked, how do you invest? Somebody asked me, how do you invest here if you're abroad? Like, how do you invest in Saint Martin if you're abroad? One of the requirements that Linda and I were discussing right before is that often the bank might ask you to just get all your accounts with them, so that, you know, as a way to negotiate a better interest rate. So yeah, definitely feel free to shop, you know, at different banks to be able to compare their offers and their interest rates, and then get the best offer and maybe bring that back to your bank and see if your bank is willing to match the terms that you got from another bank. So that's how you do that. Then your management fees, basically your management fees are a percentage which you usually give to a management agency or real estate agency to really manage your property, the ins and outs, the check-ins, the check-outs, and just make sure that everything is sorted. It does represent, you know, like an amount in whatever profit you were expecting. You know, you're gonna have to deduct that. So it might be worth thinking, you know, can you manage this property on your own, or do you really need to be giving that money to a real estate agent? Repairs contingency, we usually take 10%. That's just something that you account for. You say, okay, right, out of everything that, out of all the rental income that I'm gonna be generating, I'm gonna put 10% aside just in case there's an unforeseen issue that happens with the property and I need to do some quick repairs. And the service charge depends on the property you're looking at. It's usually mentioned in the advert, but if not, you can call up the agency who's posted the advert and just ask them, like, okay, what is the service charge? Les frais de copropriété. And then insurance is the same thing. You shop around and see which insurer is willing to give you the best deal. And that is how, through a spreadsheet, you analyze investment opportunities and figure out all the way to the right all the infos that you need to assess whether this is suitable for your overall strategy. Voila. So this was the first chunk of the presentation. We went through setting goals, understanding what is your real lifetime vision and how this property fits into that. How does real estate investment fit into that? And then building capital, all the strategies that you can, you know, implement to start saving and preparing your down payment. Decide and dive, we've looked at your investment or your investor's profile, understanding if you're risk averse, if you have what skills sets do you have that can be beneficial to your investment strategy, and what money and time do you have available. And now we're gonna go into a more in-depth, like, key, and we're lightly gonna touch on them because I don't want it to be like overwhelming. I think it's been an hour. Oh my God. Sorry, Chantal, it's been an hour. I started.
No pressure, Samia. It's going great. Thank you. So I'm looking forward to this second section, and those that were there for St. Martin's Day already saw the first section. So, like me, are very excited about the second part. So go ahead.
Okay, cool. So a few pointers. Boom. Oh yeah, so this is where Hinda comes into play. She's not sitting there just like taking part or just listening. She comes into play. So I'm gonna be asking, and I need to take my French voice now. So Rinda, okay, I'm gonna be asking you again. I'm gonna be asking you about a few key concepts, and then you can tell me, we can have like a quick discussion about them. Donc, la capacité d'investissement, enfin la capacité d'endettement. Est-ce que tu peux nous expliquer en quoi la capacité d'endettement est à prendre en compte quand on essaye de négocier avec sa banque un meilleur taux d'intérêt?
Alors, en fait, il faut savoir déjà dans un premier temps que à partir du moment où on a identifié le bien qu'on souhaite acheter et qu'on est prêt, on a préparé notre étude, on a déjà une visibilité sur le capital qu'on a en notre possession, on se rapproche de notre banquier. Une des premières questions, enfin, en tout cas, un des premiers éléments qu'il va calculer, c'est notre capacité d'endettement. En fait, ce qu'il va faire, c'est qu'il va simplement regarder les revenus qu'on génère, donc revenus salariaux, mais également si on a déjà investi les revenus que génèrent ces investissements, il va déduire en fait tout ce qui est charges fixes, donc loyer, pension alimentaire pour ceux qui ont des enfants, et autres emprunts et crédits. Donc attention, si vous avez déjà des crédits, vous avez acheté une voiture, ce sera pris en compte dans votre capacité d'endettement. Et en fait, le solde de cette, parce que c'est une petite opération un peu plus complexe que revenu moins charge, mais ça va vous donner un montant qui va lui permettre de savoir quelle est votre capacité d'endettement, donc quel est le petit complément de revenu que vous avez qui va vous permettre d'investir. Et en fait, votre capacité d'endettement maximum pris en compte par la banque sera entre 30 et 33%. Je vais vous donner un petit exemple concret. Si par exemple, en faisant vos revenus moins vos charges, il vous reste 1 000 euros de revenus nets, 1 000 euros de revenus nets et que c'est votre maximum en capacité d'endettement, vous pourrez emprunter auprès de la banque sur 20 ans à peu près 200 000 euros.
En fait, ouais, donc du coup, c'est 1 000 euros, c'est ce que la banque, ce que je peux repayer. C'est les annuités.
C'est ça.
Enfin,
c'est les annuités complètes, voilà, mensuelles.
Ok. Et donc, à partir de là, je peux work backwards et trouver la valeur du bien que je peux afford.
Tout à fait.
Sorry for the air quotes.
Pour tous ceux qui, en fait, ne savent pas exactement ce qu'ils veulent acheter ou qui, par exemple, auraient vu un bien et pensaient pouvoir afford it and obviously cannot, or vice versa, thought that they couldn't afford it and at the end of the day realized that, hey, you know what? I have a capacité d'endettement more important than what I was expecting. So, voilà. C'est un des éléments à connaître, en fait, généralement à connaître lorsqu'on fait ces recherches d'investissement. Donc, même prior to going to meet your banker.
Yeah. Ok. Et où est-ce qu'on peut trouver, du coup, sa capacité d'endettement?
Alors, il y a plein de simulateurs sur Internet. Il y a on en a mis un à la fin, meilleurtaux.com.
Ok. Cool.
Les calculs sont accurate en plus. Donc,
ok. Et régimes matrimoniaux. Ok. Ça, c'est intéressant parce que si on est dans cette situation où on vient de commencer à investir, peut-être qu'on a déjà investi en son nom et pour son compte, mais life goes on, you meet somebody, you get married, blablabla. Quel est le régime ou quels sont les régimes ou comment est-ce qu'on gère le fait de se marier? Comment ça impacte en fait son portfolio, notre portfolio?
Alors, il faut savoir de toute façon qu'avant de se marier, quoi qu'il arrive, le bien qu'on a acquis nous est propre. Donc, il nous appartient. I got married, I bought this house before getting married, it's mine. It's not ours. Une fois qu'on se marie, en fait, on a le choix entre plusieurs régimes matrimoniaux. Et généralement, le régime matrimonial qui est appliqué en France, par principe, c'est la communauté de biens réduite aux acquêts. Ça veut dire que théoriquement, tout ce qu'on achète, on achète ensemble. Et en fait, on se rend compte maintenant qu'en fait, il est beaucoup plus judicieux de se marier avec un régime de séparation de biens qui dit que, voilà, ce que j'achète est à moi, ce que tu achètes est à toi, même si on est mariés. Et si on veut acheter ensemble, on décide simplement qu'on achète ensemble comme toute autre personne, enfin, comme deux associés qui souhaiteraient acheter.
Ok.
Voilà.
Maintenant, qu'est-ce qui se passe si, bon, je suis mariée, mais je ne me suis pas mariée
En séparation
en
de biens.
séparation de biens, mais j'ai envie de continuer à investir en mon nom et pour mon compte, enfin, vraiment rien à voir avec, je veux pas que mon mari ait la main sur mes biens. Comment je fais?
Ben, dans ces cas-là, il faut déjà commencer par espérer que vous avez une très bonne relation tous les deux. Parce qu'en fait, il faudra théoriquement, il y a des CFA, des formulaires qui existent dans lesquels il y aura une description. Voilà, ce seront des formulaires types dans lesquels il y aura une description du bien. Et en fait, l'époux qui n'achètera pas devra autoriser son époux à acheter et renoncer en fait à ses droits.
De consolider le patrimoine.
Exactement.
Ok, cool. Ça, c'est bon à savoir.
Sachant que c'est très important, les banques aiment bien les régimes en séparation de biens.
Ouais.
C'est la première question qu'ils demandent en fait aux personnes mariées.
Ils te demandent tout de suite, effectivement,
quel est votre
régime
marié,
sous quel régime en fait? Ah, ok. Et donc voilà, c'est vrai que c'est plus facile. Maintenant, les SCI.
Alors, il faut savoir qu'en fait, c'est vrai que souvent, on essaye d'investir seul. Et effectivement, quand on investit seul, on n'a pas toujours une capacité d'emprunt aussi importante que si on investit à plusieurs. Et donc, pour pouvoir investir sur des biens peut-être plus importants lorsqu'on n'a pas une grosse capacité d'emprunt, il y a un outil juridique qui existe qui s'appelle les SCI, les sociétés civiles immobilières. Et en fait, ces SCI ont plusieurs avantages. Avantage initial, comme je le disais, on veut investir à plusieurs, on n'a pas beaucoup d'argent chacun, mais ensemble, on représente quand même une capacité d'emprunt plus importante. On a recours à une SCI, ça nous permet en fait de gérer un peu plus facilement l'achat et notamment les droits de propriété qui vont aller avec cet achat, dont par exemple l'indivision. Quand on achète en tant qu'individu, à plusieurs, on se retrouve dans une situation où on est 4, on a acheté un bien ensemble. Si on veut vendre le bien finalement, puisqu'on ne s'entend plus, il faut l'autorisation des 4 acheteurs pour pouvoir vendre le bien. Alors que si on a créé une SCI et que l'un des associés veut se retirer, parce qu'il n'a plus envie de participer ou de contribuer à ce projet, il lui suffit simplement de revendre ses parts en priorité aux associés et de récupérer en fait la mise avec peut-être une plus-value de son investissement initial.
Ouais.
L'avantage aussi des SCI, c'est par exemple quand on est un professionnel et qu'on a décidé par exemple de développer son patrimoine professionnel initialement et que derrière on a décidé qu'on veut investir mais pour soi, le fait en fait d'acheter pour soi-même mais sous la forme d'une SCI permet en fait de séparer ce qui est à nous, donc nos biens propres de nos biens professionnels. Et il faut savoir que pour la création d'une SCI, quand même, vous devez être un minimum de 2. On ne peut pas créer une SCI à titre individuel, seul. Alors, il y a également des avantages fiscaux. On ne va pas aller trop dans le détail, mais il faut simplement savoir que lorsqu'on crée une SCI, en fait, c'est la SCI qui va payer les impôts sur les revenus qui seront générés par le bien si on l'a mis en location, par exemple, et qu'il y a quand même certaines dépenses que la SCI fait, dont des frais de gestion, qui sont déduits de ces revenus, donc qui font qu'on paye des impôts un peu moins importants.
Yes.
Au lieu de les payer directement sur notre avis d'imposition, où là...
That was a big gem. That was a big gem. On va next. J'espère qu'il n'y a personne qui travaille aux impôts. Succession. Ah, ça c'est une grosse question parce que beaucoup de personnes, notamment à Saint-Martin, ont effectivement des problèmes de succession. Parce que qu'est-ce qui se passe quand vous héritez d'un bien et ou du moins vous allez hériter d'un bien. Vous savez qu'il y a du patrimoine dans la famille, mais vous voulez éviter en fait cette histoire où quand la personne meurt, ça y est, tout le monde se frite, etc. etc. Comment est-ce qu'on peut régler ce cas de figure?
L'avantage, en fait, c'est de créer une SCI familiale qui nous permet, en fait, de donner le bien en apport et ce qui permet, en fait, à tous les enfants ou tous les membres de la famille qui participent d'avoir des droits sociaux, donc des parts sociales sur ce bien. On n'a plus maintenant, c'est la même problématique que l'indivision. On n'a plus besoin de se disputer pour la vente du bien. Si on souhaite tout simplement obtenir en fait sa quote-part de l'héritage, il suffira dans ces cas-là de revendre ses parts.
Voila, cool. So these were a few pointers that I wanted to touch on. You could probably touch on a little bit more in a next webinar, next kind of session, or via maybe the new Instagram page that we're going to create to give like some property infos. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And then I don't know why I'm back. No, we're not there yet. We're gonna do front side versus Dutch side.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna just go really quickly through this one because I've really gone over time. So front side versus Dutch side. A lot of people were asking me what is better in terms of investing. So for Dutch, I'll do Dutch side. You'll do French side. Yeah. So Dutch side, potentially better yield. Yeah. Transfer fees are 46%, which they are, transfer fees are 46%. Okay.
No, it's interest fees.
Okay.
It was the
interest rates.
Interest rates.
And no property taxes. So it's not transfer fees, it's interest rates, guys. And there are no property taxes, pas taxe foncière. French side.
French side has une meilleure protection du bien. Donc, c'est vrai que juridiquement, il est relativement mieux encadré. On a des meilleurs taux d'intérêt qui sont en plus en ce moment très bas, puisqu'on est sur les alentours de 1,5 % d'assurance. Et les apports sont généralement un peu moins importants.
Non, j'aurais dû, c'est une erreur. Higher interest rates, effectivement, c'est pas 4 to 6%, c'est 5 to 8%. En fait, la ligne dans la case jaune est fausse. The interest rates are higher on the Dutch side, and you need a higher down payment, especially if you're not a Dutch side resident. Like if you're a French side resident, you need like something like 30%.
Most of the time, they ask for 30%.
30% down payment. And then the other thing that we need to be cautious about on the Dutch side is the land that you're purchasing. The property that you purchase can be on a freehold or a leasehold or a domain, and then that really impacts what you're going to want to do with the property, because if it is a freehold property, then you're essentially buying the property and the land. If it's a leasehold, you're buying the ability to use the property for an extended period of time. That can be anywhere from like 30 years to 99 years, you know, and it can be really long, but overall, if you're trying to pass down properties to the next generations and the next generations, then you might, you know, have to choose with caution. And then you have domain land, which is government-owned land that you also get leases from. But I think those are generally around 40 years or something. But apparently, if you only develop, if you develop a property that is, so if you're buying the land per se without the property, and you develop a property that is what it's aimed at or destined, la destination, I don't know how to say that in English. Anyways, if you buy the property and you buy it according to urban planning, what it's destined to, then the government would most likely not take back the property from you. So, yeah. And then lastly, en partie française, les frais de mutation.
Alors, les frais de mutation, c'est ce que Samia avait mis, transfer fees. C'est à peu près les mêmes taux entre la partie française et la partie hollandaise. On est entre 4 et 6%. Montage plus complexe.
Je trouve que les montages sont plus complexes en partie française.
Tu trouves?
Oui, je trouve que like Dutch side is more like pure business, like a little bit like UK style, where you can kind of, you and me, we make an agreement and then we buy the property. Whereas
well,
on
they
the
go
French
through the
side,
notary as well.
yeah, but I still find like they, I mean, you can see that the NVs and the DVs and stuff is as complicated, maybe.
I believe so.
Okay, we're in disagreement about that. And that was the end point, guys. So I will leave you with the question of figuring out what is your lifestyle, what real estate strategies would better suit your lifestyle or where you're trying to go from now on. So best of luck in defining your strategy and understanding your situation, and give us some feedback on where you're at. And yeah, I was super happy to hear, like the last time I did this presentation a couple of years after, I heard from somebody who was at the presentation and who bought her first apartment. And it was super exciting for me to just see like people just making moves and growing their portfolios and stuff. So yes, please do give us some feedback. We're really looking forward to it. And these are a few resources that you can go to if you want to check out some property infos, or you want to check out some properties here in Saint Martin through CIFOMA. Voila! Thank you so much for the time that you dedicated, the over an hour. And we're now going to do a quick Q&A of like literally a few minutes before I let you guys go.
Thank you, Samia. And sorry for my manners, Rinda. I did not introduce you at the beginning, but thank you for being there. Thank you for your insight. You were so hidden in the corner. And I know everybody is so thinking that I'm so used to this because like I'm always doing this, but I'm always super nervous every time. So I just try to get the introduction over with. So thank you and welcome, Brinda. Thank you for your input. And so yeah, let's have a few minutes of Q&A. We already had a few questions rolling in the chat during the presentation. It was hot. Ida said it was hotter than fire. So I'll leave you handle the questions, Samia.
Yeah, I'm trying to find them now.
Okay,
I
so
saw
the one of the
Aida. I think that's the first one. So I'm gonna start with that. The one from Aida is, can you elaborate on mutual funds? Oof, can you? Okay. It's not something I'm specialized in, mutual funds. It's just something that, you know, you can subscribe to. I know my mutual fund, I get it through Wealthsimple, and it's basically an application where you build a portfolio of areas where you would like to invest. So say you would like to invest in agriculture or sustainability or energy or whatever. You choose basically the categories where you would like to invest. You commit to putting some money in regularly, and they place your money for you. So they invest your money for you. And basically you have an investment or a portfolio manager who you kind of, you know, who calls you every quarter or so and gives you a little bit of an update on how your portfolio is performing and whether you want to change your risk profile. So initially you usually start with like a conservative profile, meaning that you want to invest, but even if you don't have that much of a return on investment, you would rather place the money in safe investments, and you know it generates a little bit more, but not that much. Or you can go, and then maybe afterwards you can go to a more risky profile where your money is placed with a lot more risks, and you play the shorting the market or playing the long game and blah, blah, blah. And then usually your portfolio performs better. But I mean, honestly, when I saw my portfolio and how it crashed during the pandemic, I was happy that my profile wasn't super risky because it was stressful. But yeah, so that's that. I can try to find you some more info on that, maybe a website that compares. There are websites that compare all the different mutual funds so that you can, you know, choose the one that's most suitable for you.
Yeah, Samia, you could share some links with us after, and then we'll have them posted on our social media site.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll give them to Pelitaris, and Pelitaris will do all the like sharing back.
Yes, we got you. Welcome especially, right, Joy?
What else? Ah, les frais de mutation. Qu'est-ce que c'est les frais de mutation? C'est des frais de notaire.
En fait, les frais de mutation, généralement, ce sont des frais qu'on va payer à l'État pour pouvoir avoir le transfert de propriété entre l'ancien propriétaire et le nouveau propriétaire. Et en fait, ce sont des frais qu'on paye directement au notaire, qui font partie justement des 10% qu'on est censé avoir comme capital avant d'investir. Puisqu'on se rend compte qu'en fait, les frais de notaire sont d'entre 10 et 13%, qui correspond exactement au capital que la banque demande d'avoir avant d'acheter, puisque la banque ne prend pas, en tout cas sur les Antilles, généralement, la banque n'intègre pas les frais de notaire dans l'emprunt qu'elle accorde. Mais en France, a priori, si on négocie bien son emprunt, on peut avoir les frais de notaire inclus.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As a French citizen, do you have to first own a property on the French side before acquiring a property on the Dutch side? Ah, that's a good question. A lot of people thought that though. I was told for the banks to give you, okay, yes, I know, yes, it's true. For the bank, if you're a French citizen and you want to get financed by a French bank.
By a French bank.
Yes. Yeah. If you're a French citizen and you want to get financed from a French bank for an investment on the Dutch side, then you need to own your property on the French side. But you don't need to do that if you're going to Dutch banks to, Dutch side banks to get a loan, to get financing. So you can just bypass that by shopping at Dutch side banks.
But you will need a down payment of 30%.
But you'll need a really much more substantial down payment. So voila. And I think Jackie said, is it not 8 to 10%? Jackie, you meant 8 to 10% pour les frais de notaire? Jackie said 8 to 10%.
Yes. En fait, ça va dépendre de justement, comme Samia disait, tout se négocie. Et en fait, les frais de notaire purs, donc on va dire les frais de notaire hors droit de mutation, etc., vont généralement de l'ordre de 2 à 4%. Et en fait, tous les autres frais, donc frais de mutation, ça dépend du département dans lequel on achète. Donc, pour être honnête, là, je ne sais pas encore exactement quels sont les taux sur la partie française maintenant, mais comme je suis en train d'investir, dès que j'ai un retour du notaire, on transmettra les taux à Pellicarus.
Ok, cool. Voilà. Anything else? Ok, merci. And I think that...
Plus de questions, profitez. We still have 18 people.
En tout cas, thank you so much for having us. It was really fun. I'm happy to have generated some interest in property, and I really look forward to like more property conversations, just because I feel like we're all learning a little bit. And although it might be a little bit easier for us because we work in property, but it's really cool to get the insight of other people who are investing and who find loopholes and find like, you know, des montages différents. And we can kind of just share the knowledge about this.
Lorina a une question.
Au final, est-ce que SXM reste un bon marché pour lequel investir? Tu veux répondre? Ma première partie de la réponse. Moi, j'ai tendance à penser que les investissements en France, ou on va dire en France, sont beaucoup plus stables, beaucoup plus predictable, tu sais, beaucoup plus safe. Mais j'ai tendance aussi à penser que le retour sur investissement en partie France, enfin, à Saint-Martin, est plus intéressant qu'en France. C'est peut-être un peu plus risky, mais j'ai tendance à penser que c'est peut-être un petit peu plus intéressant.
Alors, en fait, c'est mitigé parce que ça va dépendre du type d'investissement qu'on effectue. C'est vrai qu'en France, par exemple, on va prendre un exemple simple, quand on achète là-bas, les prix sont relativement les mêmes. On passe toujours par des agences immobilières, c'est très peu de particulier à particulier, donc il y a quand même des frais d'agence qui sont intégrés. Les loyers sont beaucoup plus encadrés et bas. Donc, du coup, effectivement, généralement, le retour sur investissement est moins important, alors qu'à Saint-Martin,
on est opportunity-based aussi.
Voilà. Et puis, bon, il faut dire que l'avantage qu'il y a ici, quand même, c'est que comme c'est un territoire qui est relativement petit, on a des possibilités d'avoir comment dire ça, des opportunités, des affaires sans avoir à payer les frais d'agence immobilière dans un premier temps. Dans un second temps, on est plutôt handy in general. On connaît tous un handyman, donc on sait qu'on peut toujours faire des économies sur tout ce qui est refurbishing. Et en fait, dans un dernier...
Après, je mets un bémol quand même sur ça parce que le prix des rénovations à Saint-Martin is outrageous. You can't...
Actuellement,
is outrageous. So, effectivement, quand on prend en considération, oui, effectivement, on connaît tous effectivement un handyman et on peut...
Get your friends to help you.
Get your friends to help you, for real.
Get your
Parce qu'en France, tu vas au Roi Merlin, tu achètes tout ton matériel, tes matériaux, et ça te coûte que dalle. Et effectivement, la main-d'œuvre coûtera un peu plus cher, mais j'ai envie de te dire, tes finitions seront peut-être aussi un peu mieux. Donc, all in all, je pense qu'à Saint-Martin, c'est beaucoup plus trouver une opportunité que juste investir. Quand je disais tout à l'heure, oh, maybe your idea is to invest every year, you buy one property every year. À Saint-Martin, c'est un petit peu plus compliqué parce que les opportunités font vraiment... Il y a des trucs qui sont juste absolument pas rentables. Et après, il suffit de trouver l'opportunité et tu as un truc qui est super rentable où il t'aurait fallu peut-être deux investments abroad pour avoir la rentabilité que tu auras sur un investissement ici. So,
il faut aussi penser, je pense qu'il faut aussi penser aux différents types d'investissements parce que c'est vrai que avant, quand on avait quand même il y avait la défisque, donc on pouvait avoir quand même des bonnes économies sur les impôts qu'on payait, donc c'était relativement intéressant. Il y avait aussi la location saisonnière aussi qui fonctionnait très bien. Et bon, ça fait quelques années qu'on a quand même back-to-back events. Donc, un petit bémol. Et attention, il faut quand même penser qu'il n'y a pas que les investissements pour louer en habitation, il y a aussi les investissements dans des bureaux qui ont une très bonne rentabilité.
Meilleure rentabilité, les bureaux. Mais après, encore, un bémol parce que tu ne sais pas comment, à cause du COVID, est-ce que des gens vont être forcés à give up their office spaces et est-ce que justement ça va pas faire
il y a toujours, le problème c'est qu'on est toujours dans une situation, que ce soit l'immobilier ou tout autre investissement, on est soumis à des aléas de risque. Donc après, c'est vrai qu'il faut toujours pouvoir anticiper et c'est une des raisons pour lesquelles on dit qu'il faut continuer d'économiser et continuer en fait de se créer ce capital pour que quoi qu'il arrive, on ait mis en place des assurances qui nous permettent de récupérer des loyers. Si on a bien en location et qu'il n'est pas loué. Et deux, savoir qu'on a quand même mis suffisamment d'argent de côté pour pouvoir payer la banque en cas d'aléa.
Quelqu'un a dit oui, bureau et commerce. Indeed. J'avais juste une autre chose que quelqu'un m'avait demandé en dehors, c'était quand est-ce qu'on sait qu'on doit investir dans une propriété principale ou un investissement immobilier. Et pour rejoindre un peu la question de Jackie qui dit do it have specific banks that will easily give young people loans? Et en fait, les banques ont tendance à mieux financer sa résidence principale. But, comme on en parlait, tu peux maintenir ta résidence principale pendant 6 mois ou pendant une durée. Peu importe, je ne sais plus quelle durée, et après, passer cette même résidence en investissement et la mettre en location. Donc,
le prêt sera déjà obtenu avec les modalités d'intérêt qui ont été négociées et mensualité de remboursement d'emprunt.
Et donc, est-ce qu'il y a une banque en particulier? Mais il n'y a pas tellement de banques en partie française.
Le problème, c'est que tu es dans une situation, il faut vraiment faire toutes les banques. Il faut vraiment les mettre toutes en concurrence, essayer d'obtenir de chacune d'elles le meilleur taux, grappiller sur tout ce que tu peux, et après présenter, par exemple, la meilleure offre que tu as obtenue à la banque à laquelle tu veux, la banque qui t'intéresse.
Lorina demande quels sont les skills indispensables à avoir pour se lancer dans l'immobilier.
Negotiation. Bon, j'exagère, mais je pense qu'il faut simplement vouloir
se lancer.
Voilà. Il y a plein de personnes qui n'y connaissaient rien, qui se sont lancées, qui s'en sortent très bien. Il y a d'autres personnes qui ont découvert que finalement l'investissement dans l'immobilier ne les intéressait pas. Et après, bon, pour ceux qui ne veulent pas forcément acheter un bien physique, il y a toujours les SCPI. Donc, ce sont des sociétés, sociétés civiles de propriété immobilière où, en fait, au lieu d'acheter un bien, on achète des parts. Et le taux de rendement est généralement de 4%.
Un peu comme l'histoire des mutual funds.
Exactement. Et là, on sait si on aime l'immobilier, on sait qu'on investit dans l'immobilier, on sait quand même vers où la SCPI tend les biens qu'elle tend à acheter. Donc, on garde un pied dans l'immobilier et un pied dans. J'ai pas besoin de me prendre la tête avec cet emprunt que j'ai dû faire qui doit être remboursé tous les mois.
Yeah. Est-ce que j'avais autre chose sur les skill sets? Quelqu'un a dit, where can I get that? I just want to invest and sit back.
There are not many investments where you can invest and sit back.
Non, mais where can she get les SCPI?
Les SCPI?
I think that's just a Google search, though.
Yeah.
Again, we'll send the link.
Search. Et sinon, de toute façon, il y a plein de là où tu as investi ton.
Ouais, simple.
Ouais, parce que je sais que par exemple, moi, celui qui me suivait, en fait, j'ai investi en fait avec un gestionnaire de patrimoine. C'est un groupe qui s'appelle UFF et il propose en fait des investissements en SCPI. Donc en fait, c'est simplement de faire une recherche sur Internet, contacter par exemple plusieurs investisseurs et comparer en fait avec des avis sur Internet les portfolios qui sont proposés et ceux qui font le plus d'argent.
Ouais.
Quand on ne veut pas en tout cas investir directement et acheter des stock options directement tout seul.
Ouais. Il y a aussi le fait de... Ouais, je sais pas si j'ai envie de... Mais peut-être qu'il y a something to be said about sharing the investment loan. Like, tout à l'heure, on a parlé des SCI. Peut-être que, tu sais, given everything and, you know, support Black-owned businesses, and maybe it's an opportunity to create Black-owned businesses where you put your money together, you generate wealth together, and then you exploit that wealth together, and you pass it down together, and then you create generational wealth together. Maybe that is, you know, like a good starting point if you don't have a lot of money or you don't want the hassle, or you just put that money in a company with people that you trust and kind of manage the investments like that. I don't know. En général, vaut mieux louer meublé ou non meublé pour avoir du mobilier, pour avoir un meilleur ROI, niveau gestion, etc. Et pourquoi? Est-ce qu'il vaut mieux louer meublé ou non meublé pour avoir un meilleur ROI?
Alors, c'est vrai que là, généralement, la location meublée revient un petit peu plus cher. Pour moi, c'est pas forcément tant une question de return on investment, parce que si on loue meublé et qu'on loue trop cher dans un quartier résidentiel où les gens ont l'habitude de louer, en tout cas non meublé, ça ne rapportera pas, on risque de ne pas louer. Mais en revanche, l'avantage de louer en meublé, c'est vrai que ça permet en fait d'avoir des baux beaucoup moins longs, puisqu'on est sur un bail d'1 an au lieu d'un bail de 3 ou 4 ans non meublé. Et en fait, si on se retrouve avec des problèmes d'impayés, de loyer, c'est vrai que c'est plus facile de rompre le bail qu'un bail classique en non meublé. Mais effectivement, généralement, louer en meublé, on a un meilleur ROI, mais en contrepartie, il faut trouver
retour sur investissement.
Oui, retour sur investissement. Mais c'est vrai qu'en contrepartie, il faut trouver en tout cas, il faut avoir ciblé la clientèle adéquate et avoir acheté à un endroit où on sait qu'on peut louer en meublé. et qu'on aura des locataires qui seront intéressés.
Jackie dit, je pense que ça dépend de la population. Mais je pense que c'était en réponse à la question de Lorina, que ça dépend de la population. Effectivement, oui, ça peut dépendre effectivement du type.
Oui, ça dépend de où tu vas. C'est pour ça qu'il faut choisir ça dépend de de l'endroit. Yeah. C'est clair que si tu achètes à Orient B que tu veux meubler, tu auras un peu plus tu auras plus de facilité à louer meublé que si tu achètes à Concordia et que tu veux meubler.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Then, okay, I think that's all for the questions. Thank you guys so much. If you have any other questions, do DM me on Instagram or something. Oh, I'll put in my email address as well. And then I won't put in Hinda's email, but you can email me and then I'll just forward it or I'll copy her in. Gmail.com. Boom. There you go. Thank you so much. Julia demande, un logement meublé doit avoir quel type d'équipement au minimum?
Wow, un logement meublé, c'est vraiment tout. C'est-à-dire que tu es censé le
meubler. Tu peux faire du semi-meublé, en fait, si c'est ça que tu demandes, parce que ça existe le semi-meublé aussi. Si, ça existe le semi-meublé.
Oui, mais tu n'auras pas les mêmes avantages que le meublé. Okay. Normalement, il y a 2 statuts juridiques en France. Okay. C'est le meublé et le non-meublé. Et dans le meublé, ça va jusqu'au couteau et aux fourchettes.
The hustle. Ok, ben voilà, c'est tout. Thank you so much. And have a nice weekend. Enjoy it and do all the property research that you want, and then give me some feedback and give me some property opportunities because a nigga is trying to invest as well.
Do not hesitate to, faut se lancer. En revanche, very important, if you have family, friends, start blazing them, all of them, with the fact that you want to invest in real estate. And whenever they have opportunities or know somebody that is trying to sell or whatever, just jump on it because basically that's the best way to make deals.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that last piece of fire advice. That's definitely that's something I want to take with me. Thank you again, Samia. Thank you again, Hinda, for this wonderful presentation, planting some wonderful seeds in our minds and our hearts again. I can't wait to see in months and years the beautiful flowers and trees and houses and building complexes that flourishes from this webinar. Thank you for participants. Thank you for those that were there last week, here again this week, that's supporting these webinars. Of course, if you have a topic, if you have something, a special skill, a special knowledge that you want to share with us, hit us up. You can be next to promote your business or whatever. Samia put her email address in the chat, but Peli Carus will be posting her contact information at her on Instagram. Keep follow Peli Carus. I used to, all the things that people say at the end of a nice YouTube video. Do this.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, that. Thank you, Samia. Thank you again for everything. Thank you, participants. See you next time.
Bye.